So joining us now is OjyOkpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Oji.
Good morning, Dr. Rufai. How are you this morning? You know, I always have used that phrase every time I open the show. How are you this morning?
Very well, Oji. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent.
Missed you on Friday.
Yes. I missed you too. I missed you guys too.
Both of you actually. I should be the one saying I missed both of you on Friday. I missed you on Friday because Rufai wasn't in.
Yes, and now we are missing Dr. Abati. I hope we'll see him tomorrow. Well, all right.
Love you, Dr. Abati. Miss you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, all right. Well, good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending with reactions trailing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's speech at the World Economic Forum in Saudi Arabia yesterday, where he stated that the removal of fuel subsidy and the current efforts by his administration to manage Nigeria's foreign exchange market were necessary steps that prevented the country from going into bankruptcy. Tinubu, however, acknowledged that the subsidy removal was difficult, but argued that it was in the best interest of the country.
Concerning the question of the subsidy removal, there's no doubt that it was a necessary action for my country not to go bankrupt. One, to reset the economy and the pathway to growth. It is going to be difficult. But the hallmark of leadership is taking difficult decisions at the time it ought to be taken decisively. That was necessary for the country. Yes, there will be blowback. There is expectation that the difficulty in it will be felt by a greater number of the people. But once, I believe it was their interest that is the focus of the government.
All right. Rufai Ayo, Tinubu's speech here at the World Economic Forum has been praised. Of course, subsidy removal was necessary to reset the economy. He sounded all the right notes there, but of course, there are arguments by economists and of course, Nigerians. Let me take a tweet from Rita, who wrote, "Normal rhetoric, but we don't see the benefits in other sectors of the economy. A wise government should plow back this money into the betterment of the country. But we see the price of goods rising daily. Fuel keeps hiking, and naira keeps crumbling. In all these, there is no sign of cutting down the cost of governance by the federal government, so unwise." While Badmus wrote, "Buhari government, most especially MFLA, emptied Nigeria's account before Tinubu took over. But Tinubu used his strategy to get Nigeria back on track with fuel subsidy. And now our foreign reserve is also reducing due to naira gaining strength. If you can't praise him, don't insult him." Now, the argument, Rufai Ayo, is the fact that is fuel subsidy back or not?
Yes,
that's the biggest argument. Before I come to you. You remember?
Yeah.
I think it was last month or earlier this month. I want to play that where the former governor of Kaduna State earlier this month said that the federal government is spending more for fuel subsidy than before, amounting to about 8 trillion naira. Let's look at that quickly.
Announced withdrawal of fuel subsidy on 29th. Believe it or not, fuel subsidy is back. Because we're spending more on subsidy now, about 8 trillion, than before 29th. Because we realize that you cannot withdraw fuel subsidy if your exchange rate is not stable. You just have hyperinflation, so they had to relax. So no policy has been stalled. It's not to the production. If you start implementing and there are problems, modify it, drop it, reverse it.
Well, El Rufai here is saying that the federal government has spent about 8 trillion naira in full subsidy. Rufai, earlier I heard you talk about the price differential. I mean, obviously it appears that there is, subsidy is back, even though the federal government and NNPC, who is the sole importer of PMS, has debunked the fact that Nigeria is paying for full subsidy. But well, in the meantime, I spoke with the former president, Society of Petroleum Engineers, Joe Uwakwe, who said that the landing cost of PMS is about 950 $50 per ton, which will require Nigerians to pay about 925 naira at the pump. But you know, we're paying about 600 naira. Well, let's take a listen to that.
Well, the numbers don't lie. So if you look at the current price, the pump price today is probably 600 average. To land it in Nigeria today at $950 a ton will require that you pay 900 naira at the pump.
Really?
A little bit above, actually. So if you think of the premium that you pay, maybe $10, I'm assuming the lowest premium, which is $10.
Yeah.
If it's 15, you pay a little bit. The pump price will be, I would say, $9.25, something like that. So, yes, we are paying subsidies.
All right, there. That is an expert. So it appears that the differential could be about, what, 300 naira at this point that the federal government is using to subsidize fuel. I don't know if that answers your question a little bit.
No, it doesn't answer my question because you don't have empirical variables.
Yeah.
So that's just a variable based on its own assessment. It's not an empirical variable, except the NMPC. And I think the last time Mele Kyari came here, I asked him to give us the threshold for the empirical numbers. He wouldn't, you know, for the calculation of even the landing cost vis-a-vis the cost of the pump, but he wouldn't. But Oji, let's go straight to it and let's do some, you know, mathematical analysis this morning. Number one, 5 things. Or let me say 3 things President Tinubu should have done before removing subsidy. Number one, get to sort out the empirical variables that make up the calculation of the NNPC as regards the landing cost vis-a-vis the cost of the pump. Get to understand the empirical variables of the liters consumed per pump in Nigeria and the ones that goes out in smuggling. Thirdly, a forensic audit of the hitherto systems in the NMPC, digging past to many years to be able to ascertain what is going on. 4, blocking the sources of crude oil theft in partnership with some IOCs and some local collaborators, which, yeah, they say Tantita is trying to do, but crude oil thefts are still increased. 5, constituting an international forum to be able to track Nigerian stolen crude. Agboniyiwa, that man, former Edo lawmaker, used to come and show us data of how we used to track these things about the crude. 6, what he should also have done is to be able to get scenario-based planning and empirical studies of various scenarios of phased removal of petroleum subsidy removal with different percentile thresholds to be able to ascertain the impact on, number 1, inflation, welfare of the citizenry, and collective development of Nigeria. Different scenario iterations. If President Tinubu had done all of this, I will go on the street and give him all my support. But he didn't do them. At first, we don't know by scenario-based account the knock-on effect of inflation before we removed petroleum subsidy. Secondly, we don't even know how much we are consuming per liter vis-a-vis what is being taken out in smuggling. Third, we have not fixed the problem of the customs and all this route at which people go take our petrol out. If you sorted out all of that, then you can go ahead and remove subsidy. You should also tell us the variation at which the cost ballooned from 2019 at about 350 billion to over 1 trillion in 2021. Anyway, they said variations post-COVID, increase in crude oil price and everything. Those are the fundamentals we're asking for the president to be able to get right, and the empiricals before you. So if you didn't do all of this and you say you need to take the tough decisions, but you didn't solve the problem of crude oil theft. That's why you've removed subsidies. Now we're building refineries. We've got Dangote refinery. Dangote can't get this crude from here. So he has to go import West Texas Intermediate, still use our forex to import that because he can't get his crude from here. We're doing 1.2 according to OPEC. Let's leave condensate aside because condensate is condensate. Anyway, people say we still make revenue from condensate. But 1.2 straight on OPEC value.
Yeah.
We can't meet our OPEC quota. So we've not solved those itinerant problems and we pulled out subsidy. And that's why it's with these few points of mine I'll be able to align. I say subsidy removal, and I submit to you this morning, without any form of equivocations, that subsidy removal was not a thought-out decision.
Yeah.
And what President Tinubu was saying at that forum was just him saying what he said.
All right, Rufai, you have dished out your fundamentals. Let me take another tweet from Jeremiah, who also proffered some solutions. He said that fuel subsidy removal wasn't necessary. What were necessary are: 1, cut down on frivolous government spending; 2, block all government revenue leakages; 3, eliminate crude oil thieves, which Rufai alluded to; 4, fix local refineries; 5, institute sound public financial management systems; 6, stop nepotism, put round pegs in round holes, engage competent hands in public service. As we are speaking, Ayo, of course, you know that we are, people are queuing up for fuel. There is no fuel right now. It's not just in Abuja, because I see the headlines. I was driving down Awolowo Road as well in Lagos. There, you know, there's no fuel at this point. But let me take this reaction from Abiodun, who wrote, filling stations are closed. There are fewer cars on the road. Several stranded students by the roadside. The few ones selling are selling at cutthroat prices. If you are lucky to get commercial transportation, you have to be ready to pay more than your initial fare budget. Look, I mean, a quick summary from you before we...
Very quick one. We talked about the fact that the impact of fuel scarcity on Nigerian businesses and the Nigerian people ought to be monetized so that we see just how much we're losing every time we have this. And we calculated we've had about 2 or 3 fuel scarcity editions since this administration came into power. And this is one of the things that, one of the arguments for the removal of fuel subsidy, that when fuel subsidy is gone, it's a fair playing ground, others can import, and then we'll say bye-bye to fuel scarcity. Unfortunately, aside from the other failings that have been identified following that policy direction, it's also the fact that they've not even been able to solve the problems they said they were going to solve, including fuel scarcity. And so this conversation then is that, was it worth it? The sufferings that the Nigerian people have had to endure since May 29, 2023, is it worth it? The fact that we have consistently talked about the fact that this wasn't a well thought out or properly thought out and implemented policy direction, was it worth it? And so when the president keeps saying, oh, it's something we had to do and the people must be willing to sacrifice, the first point, but I believe was Timothy's tweet, saying that the government in itself must begin to cut frivolous spendings and leakages in the government. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case. We still see, when you see the way that spending is being done, you would imagine that Nigeria is in a windfall, that it's a prosperous country, until you look at the streets and see the real people suffering for the decisions of this government. So again, this conversation around, has it really worked? No. If what ought to have been done was done properly, then we will not be in this situation that Nigerians are suffering for. And that's quite sad.
Well said, Ayo, both of you, well said. Well, let's now take reactions trailing allegations made by the anti-graft agency in the case of embattled former governor of Kogi State, Yahaha Bello, that the American International School in Abuja had refunded over $760,000 paid by the former governor for his children's tuition. Well, over the weekend, Yahaha Bello's media office released a statement debunking claims made by the anti-graft agency, saying that no amount of blackmail will make the former governor go through the back door, while alleging defamation to his character. The 10-point statement reads in part: 1. His Excellency Yahaha Bello's children have attended the American International School Abuja well before he became governor, and he has paid fees for his children as and when due and without fail. 2. His Excellency Alhaji Yahaha Bello did not pay the sum of $720,000 as alleged by the EFCC chairman, or $840,000 as is being bandied about on the internet. 3. The payment of the fees was not effected at about the time His Excellency was to leave office, as claimed by Mr. Olukoyede, but same commenced in 2021. 4. Alhaji Yahaha Bello did not pay the fees of his children with monies from the coffers of the Kogi State government. 5. When the EFCC approached the American International School Abuja to illegally recover funds legitimately paid by Alhaji Yahaha Bello and other family members, a member of the family challenged the EFCC's unlawful acts to recover funds legitimately paid. the FCT High Court held that AISA could not lawfully and unilaterally refund to a third party, including the EFCC, fees paid by parties to the suit. Now, let it be known that contrary to misleading narratives by the EFCC, all the documents published online, i.e. receipts and letters that the EFCC has released online in furtherance of its unrelenting persecution of the former governor, are documents filed by lawyers in the suit instituted on behalf of Alhaji Yahaha Bello and others who paid fees for their wards under the advance fee payment agreement with AISA. Those documents having been filed by his lawyers are thus public documents, which shows that His Excellency Yahaha Bello has nothing to hide with regards to the payment of advance fees for his children. This unending harassment and persecution, even while in office, were among key reasons he sought to enforce his fundamental human rights. I mean, allegations upon allegations. I know you want to speak quickly.
So that's Yahaha Bello's own point of view as regards the matter. Number one, his media team said they've always been paying school fees.
Tuition, yeah.
But the question we'd like to ask his media team is, did at any point in time before he became governor, did he have to pay a lump sum in advance to cover about a 10-year cycle? You should answer that question. Secondly, as regards going to court, yes, they went to court because he took the school to court, but the school, on the side of the implications, still refunded that money to the AFC. So him saying that he didn't pay that money, but he also contradicted himself in the report by saying he took the school to court because the school had said they were going to pay EFCC that amount. The total sum was about 8-something, but it was removed because the school took some for educational fees and left the remaining there. So this is a clear testament to the allegations of the EFCC that actually money was paid. So another thing we should now do is to be able to investigate this. Probably we should ask to see his deposition at the Code of Conduct Bureau, the asset he filed that he had before he became governor, and juxtapose that with the potential to be able to pay over $800,000 for a 10-year cycle for his children's fees. So if his asset obviously shows that he has the capacity to be able to pay, then his argument is valid. But secondly, as regards this back and forth, I got some more legal insight, and kudos to Auntie Onipeko Brickwaite. This will be coming out on the papers tomorrow in her position. At first, she said that you don't even need to be invited. As long as there's a criminal charge against you, that you should go face the case. That's what the laws of the land say. Secondly, the fact that before Yahaha Bello went to the Kogi High Court to say his rights might be tampered with, do not forget that the case was already in court. It was already filed in the Federal High Court. Right. So what Yahaha Bello was doing was forum shopping. And don't forget that the accomplice in the case had been indicted long ago, but the reason the EFCC couldn't come after him all this while was because he was still a governor and he had some level of immunity. And that's why, to a large extent, I feel, honestly, if we want this country to move forward, we should remove the immunity from public office holders. Yeah. Because a lot of them get away with a lot of shenanigans. All right. So that all of this they are saying, that most of the people that come to defend him on television forget in a hurry that before Yahaha Bello went to the Kogi High Court, and that's what we're talking about, courts of coordinate jurisdiction, to get that judgment, that the case was already filed in court. There were already about 17 or 18 or 19 charges against him already. And those are the arguments in the story. So, I mean,
the matter is sub judice, right? I mean, I think that this is, like we've said earlier, this is a trial by media because the EFCC should not have come out in the first place to bring out those documents. But, you know, like we've said, the matter is in court and it's public documents. You guys can actually go out and file for those documents and get, you know, those documents. But, you know, it's good that Yahaha Bello and his team has come out to, you know, say their own side of the story, and we'll get to hear the end of the matter when the case is settled. Well, before we end what's trending today, let's pull up the picture of the day. And it's none other than the picture of billionaire businessman Femi Otedola with two-time former unified world heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua. Well, on Sunday, the billionaire posted the now viral picture on Instagram and Twitter with the caption, "Look who popped by my Monaco residence this morning. The champ himself and my very own namesake, Anthony Joshua." The photo has since garnered several reactions. I mean, I wanted to pull up a photo of the day just to make it fresher this morning, Monday morning. But I mean, we see the billionaire there with our very own champ, you know.
Our very own champ, Anthony Joshua. Really proud of the fact that he's gone to, and of course, there must be a level of support for him to have visited him at home.
Yes.
Mr. Femi Otedola is a man who's known for his philanthropic endeavors, including his investment in sport. And just to see him encourage the younger one, just a very funny part of that. There was a comment by his daughter.
I knew you were going there.
Someone had commented, my darling, or my darling Femi, or something like that. Anthony Joshua, I think his name is also Femi as well. So it was the other Femi she was referring to, not Femi. And a lot of people wanted to say, who is this woman who is writing, my dear Femi, well done and all that.
Yes.
But really beautiful to see that, and I hope that even more people will follow through and support young people and really invest in sports. Not just in boxing, but other parts of
Absolutely. And you know, Femi Otedola has always done that. Rufai, you can attest to that because you're always seeing the praise
I mean,
of
he's
his
done a lot, you know,
his
sports,
support.
philanthropy, and all of that. And the relation doesn't start today. You know, even before when he was going in for the, you know, World Championship bout, you can see the support, you know, that he has constantly given. And also, in sports, you remember Christian Chukwu?
Yeah.
You know, when he had that health ailment and everything, and he came through for him and all of that. So, you know, we can only say kudos to him. And Femi is back on the scene as regards boxing, you know, after beating Ngannou. Probably will go ahead to win his next couple of fights and will bring that championship, you know, back to Nigeria. I'm really excited about it. You know. Those are the two Agbabolas.
How much is nothing? It's nothing. Let me give you flavor story now because you love flavor. We'll take our final story. Well, controversial, self-acclaimed pastor Chukwuemeka Ohanaemere, better known as Odumeje, arrived in the country over the weekend. After a long stay in London, Odumeje was received at the Anambra International Airport by a crowd of supporters where he professed that he will stop the naira from further depreciating against the dollar now that he's back in the country.
The only one man that tell you how we bring down dollar, and I get it done. And when I left the country and dollar still to rise, I am back. Then I will continue where I stand.
Well, earlier in the month, the pastor had boasted of being behind the appreciation of the naira, using one of his powers when the currency gained 12% against the dollar. Odumeje had traveled to the United Kingdom to host a show and promote his new song, Powers, featuring Afrobeat star Flavor. The musician on Sunday posted a now viral video of himself and Odumeje showing off the latest dance move to the hit song, Powers. Let's take a look.
I'm about to release my powers. I'm about to release my powers. Can do Lebela Mandi. Palebo, Shenelebo. I've been to shaker. Debunks Kaba. Lefa Sefale. Indaboski. Who you? Who born you? How do you exist? Who created you? How do you form? And to challenge the family?
Epidemic,
Pandemic,
pandemonium,
catastrophe,
cataclysm.
Everywhere you're a burning fire.
It's a burning fire. You know, Rufai. Now you know how to do the dance moves, right? Rufai, you were dancing over the weekend and I saw your videos and now you know how to do the Odumeje dance move. But I mean, who born you?
Who born you?
Who made you exist?
Who are you?
Odumeje.
Who are you?
You know what I love about this pastor? He has given us some comic relief in the midst of all the saga going on in Nigeria. I love it.
Pastor.
Self-acclaimed pastor. I said
this was the skit
use the word Pastor Lucy. Thank you very much.
Skit maker. For me, Odumeje is not a pastor. He's a skit maker.
But that's what he called himself. He calls himself
pastor skit maker. I can play a role of a pastor in the skit maker.
At least he's giving us comic relief. What can we say? Abito Shaker. I'd like to thank you both for your great analysis as always on What's Trending. Well, that's all I have for you guys on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.